Right. Now that right there,
I promised.
black people, white people,
Yes.
all walks of life.
That was nice. I had a
all
good time.
across political lines. That's the way Martin Luther King wanted it.
That's exactly, and that's what the people at the cafeteria, at the counters, the lunch counters,
That's
what
right.
they represented. They were listening to Dr. Martin Luther King when they decided to do that. I thought it was cool it was students.
Did you see the plaque? Now last
We
year
did.
at Black History Month celebration, we put that there.
Really?
Park Development Corporation, we were responsible for the historical placard that's here permanently placed, because that building right there used to be S&H Crest 5 and Dime store. They tore it down. They tore it down, built that, and then so we commemorated, the civil rights movement by putting a permanent placard there to talk about what actually happened at that one spot right there, where all those African American kids that went to Howard came down here. It was right there. I wish they had kept that building and tore it down.
Hi, we just want you to introduce yourself and why you're here today.
Okay, I'm Dr. Elenora Woods, and I'm with the Alton Park Development Corporation in celebration of Black History Month. This is our second annual event, and as you can see, it's been a wonderful day. This is what it's all about. This time we brought the King. His Royal Majesty, let me pronounce it correctly, His Royal Majesty Oba Adefemi II. And he's over 35 million people back in Nigeria, Africa. And he has a village in Beaufort, South Carolina, where he teaches people about the African American culture and heritage, which is so important to the fibers that help to create this country. So he was here today. He graced us with his presence. He received the key to the city and a proclamation from the city of Chattanooga by Mayor Andy Byrd. And we're just very, very happy that in this city, the greatest city to live in, according to many, has embraced African Americans and their culture and their history, and all the people that were involved today, crossing all racial, genders, religious, cultural, everything. It was just perfect. Perfect. This is what Martin Luther King wanted. He wanted us all to walk hand in hand, irregardless of where you came from, religious background, race, gender. He wanted us all to come together, and that's what it's all about.
Do you think those students from the 60s ever would have thought that this would come about like this, how everything has turned around? They have a street behind you named after ML King, and everybody's here observing what they stood up and did for that day?
Right, that's what the civil rights movement was all about. It was about bringing integration into presence. So when they came down here, they were students, number one. The only place recorded in history where students led a civil rights movement was the students from Howard High School. That in itself was monumental. So when they came down here, their whole purpose was to end segregation. And so I know that with all of the blood that's been shed, all of the sacrifices that have been made, on both sides of the equation, that this is what we were getting to. And we got a long way to go. But thank God we're not where we used to be. But we do have a little bit more work to go. And these type of events where you're here, your children and your grandchildren can witness this is how it starts and how we continue to make progress.
Can you tell us what your idea of the American dream is?
The American dream is the dream where white people, black people, whatever color you are, will have the opportunity to live and to be self-sufficient, and to also have equal access to education, equal access to housing, equal access to entrepreneurship, business, whatever it is that you dream, that you will have an opportunity. And that's where it starts, with an opportunity. That's where it started with me, that everybody would have an opportunity. And when those who cannot pull themselves up by the bootstraps, because they don't have bootstraps, that a sister or a brother will come along and help them until they can get on their feet and give them what they need to succeed. That to me is the American dream, the freedom to have those things realized.
I think we're going to get into a longer interview if I start talking about the Alton Park Development Center, but is there something you want to give us? I know you got to go, but something you want to tell anybody about Alton Park Development Center?
Alton Park Development Corporation is a CDC, a nonprofit CDC, and our purpose is to do those things that we just talked about, to help revitalize these communities that have been severely impacted with poverty, inequalities in education and housing, and also economic development. With the programs that we put together, we hope that these things will balance out, equalize out, and help these communities to come up to the standard that they need to come up to. Right now, we're dealing with inequalities in education. For example, in Alton Park, there's not a high school, there's not a middle school. There's not an elementary school. There used to be an elementary school, but now it's one of those, forget what you call them.
Charter?
Well, it's not a charter school. Well, anyway, it's like Normal Park.
Okay.
Yeah, one of those type of schools. So we're still fighting and struggling right now for that. On one street in Alton Park, there's 21 abandoned houses. 21. On another street, 24. And so when you have this rampant poverty, poverty is the common denominator of everything else. So you have to rid poverty. You have to give people an opportunity. And the king that was here spoke on that when we went to Howard and when we went to Washington Alternative School. In Africa, what is missing here in America is that cultural thing that taught our children, number one, to make things with your hands. Taught them entrepreneurship. Once you make those things with your hand, you sell that, and then you come back and enjoy from your labor. You get to spend that money. You have to prove yourself before you're an adult. In other words, just because you turn 18 does not make you an adult. In Africa, you have 20 challenges that you must meet in order to be considered an adult. And only then will the elders allow you to come in and talk, and you can talk with wisdom. And until then, you're still a child. We don't have that in America. So that cultural thing that's missing from African Americans may be that thing that needs to be incorporated back into the black family, which has kept our country and our people strong and mighty and allowed us to be the great and wonderful people that we are.
I think the backbone of it is, though, the mother and the father is being a family, correct?
That is the sole purpose of the king coming here. Is one of the things that they have in Africa that we have lost in America, not just for black people, but for white people too. You hear the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, which means that if a child is out of hand, you grab that child, you take them to their parent, and right there on the spot, no questions asked, that child is dealt with. But we've lost that. We've lost that thing where extended families are part of raising children. And that's very important, especially when you have a father who's missing. Maybe he's deceased. What happens in the family with children's fathers or one parent is deceased? You still have to have that fiber and that connection and that neighborhood or that village to help to raise that child once that parent is gone. So it's not just about a missing parent, it's about the extended families being missing. So that's what we need to go back to, extension.
Okay, we're going to let you get back to your party.